Now for our story. Peggy Douglas and Bill Meade stood on the front porch of Aunt Mary Lane's little farmhouse outside of Wakefield. It was the first time they'd talked since Bill's marriage to Kitt Meade had been dissolved. The marriage which had caused so much unhappiness.
It's wonderful to know there's nothing to keep me from... Well, that is, that my life is all clear again.
It must be. I'm awfully happy for you, Bill. If you are happy.
Happy, Peggy? I don't know yet. That all depends. Peggy.
Yes, Bill?
Yes, it's been so long since I felt free to tell you how it is with me. How it's been all along that... Well, now that I can, I don't know where to begin. I feel sort of scared.
That's the way I feel, too.
Do you? Oh, I've thought about it so much. And when I think about it, I get very eloquent in my imagination. Now the words won't come out.
You don't need to be eloquent, Bill.
Oh, but I want to tell you how lovely you are. How I've missed you ever since things went wrong.
I've missed you, too, Bill.
You understand, don't you, Peggy? As long as I was still married to Kitt, even though we'd separated, I couldn't tell you how I felt.
I do understand. I wouldn't have listened if you had tried to say anything until everything was straightened out.
And now it is. Oh, Peggy, I love you so much. I can't even say how much. I always have. I can't make a big speech about it. I wish I could. All I can say is, I love you.
I love you. Oh, if only I could be sure what I want to say is right. How familiar it sounds. Like that night so long ago, before all the mix-up, before Kitt came home, when Bill and I were so happy. Yet even then I was afraid. So much a little girl and so unsophisticated. I was trembling, I remember. It was a night very much like tonight. Moonlight, only warmer. It was summer.
That's not asking me, Peggy.
Oh, Bill, I don't know what to say. I'm not sure.
Darling, there's only one way for you to know.
No, Bill. Please, Bill.
I love you, Peggy. Oh, sweetheart.
Oh, Bill.
Do you know now? Can't you say I love you, too?
Yes, I do, Bill. I love you, too.
Peggy. Sweetheart, you're trembling. Are you afraid?
Bill, my heart is pounding so.
Yes, so is mine. Oh, but honey, there's nothing to be afraid of. We love each other. What's there to be afraid of?
I don't know.
Didn't you want this to happen?
Yes, I did, but I've never kissed a boy before.
Oh, you sweet kid. Well, now you're never going to kiss another one. You're mine.
Oh, Bill.
Happy?
I've never been so happy, Bill.
Oh, Peggy, it's going to be like this forever. Just the two of us. Now we have something that nobody can ever take away from us. If we don't let them. Peggy, promise me you'll never let them.
I promise. Oh, Bill, I suppose it's different with a man. But for a girl, this is the moment she always dreams of. The moment when she tells a boy that she loves him. She never knows what it'll be like. I've tried to imagine, but I couldn't. That's why I was afraid, I guess. The feeling so strange, so new, almost like being born. You're so alive, so...
I know. But it's never different with men. I feel like I have to hold you in my arms and Peggy.
Bill, I love you. Bill, I love you. Now, I knew then I could never say that to anyone else. Bill, is it right? Can we go back? Can I ever feel the same again? Oh, I don't know. So much has happened. I'm afraid now. Almost the same as I was afraid that night.
Peggy, aren't you going to say anything?
Bill,
No, Peggy, don't. I love you. I always have and I always will. But I haven't the right to ask you if you love me.
Haven't the right? Why, Bill?
Because, Peggy, I know it seems that I'm free. I have my divorce. The baby's been given to Kitt.
I'm sorry about that, Bill. I know how much your son means to you. And yet. Yeah. Oh, Peggy, I can't stand thinking what'll happen to him if he's brought up in the Calvert house, under the influence of Ben Calvert. I know, Bill, it is hard. But at least he'll have the material things.
Oh, yes, he'll have the material things. And he'll have opportunities that I could never give him. Perhaps someday he'll even be rich. But is that what counts? Peggy, I've thought about this thing, but sometimes I think I'll go crazy. I've talked to Aunt Mary, to David Bowman, and Peggy, I still think I'm right. I can't let Kitt keep that boy if there's any way that I can prevent it. And I'm going to try. I don't know how, but I'm going to keep trying until I know there's no hope. Well, now you know why I'm not free. Not really.
You mean that there's still a possibility that you may get custody of the baby after all?
Yes. Oh, I know that it isn't much of a possibility. I can't even think of what it might be. But there's always that chance, no matter how small. The chance that someday the boy may be mine. And if that should happen...
I see. It means that if that should happen, and you and I were married, then I'd have to raise Kitt's child.
Yes, Peggy. That's why I wouldn't let you answer. It wouldn't be fair. Unless you do love me that much. Peggy? Could you? Oh, Peggy.
Oh, Bill. Why did you have to come here tonight? Why couldn't you have let me alone?
Well, what's your answer, Peggy?
Bill, I don't know. How could I? Kitt's child. No matter how much I wanted to. Oh, I feel like a criminal even thinking that an innocent little baby could stand between us. It made her suffer, maybe, because I'm not big enough to overcome a feeling against its mother. Well, I might even try. I said that I would, but I'm afraid.
Oh, Peggy, I've been selfish. You're right, I shouldn't have come here tonight. I don't know what I expected. A miracle, I guess. Well, I better be going. I'm sorry, Peggy. Will you tell Aunt Mary that the dinner was swell? And Randy left me? Goodbye, Peggy.
Goodbye, Bill.
This was what Bill needed feared, and yet hoped against hope wouldn't happen. And yet he asked himself, what else could he expect? Now for our story. For a few short moments last night, Peggy Douglas had been terribly happy. But then Bill Meade confessed that he still intended to fight for custody of his child, Kitt's child. Peggy had told him she couldn't trust herself to try to bring up the baby son of the woman who had caused her so much grief. She hadn't slept much afterwards, thinking it over, realizing the hopelessness of her love for Bill, since apparently it only led to unhappiness for her. And today, when Nicholas Dorn telephoned, asked to see her this evening, she felt a rush of warmth and gratitude toward him. Nicholas had been so wonderful all through these last months. And now, Peggy sits in the living room of the farmhouse alone, waiting for Nicholas.
Oh, good evening, Nicholas. Come in.
Hello, darling. You know, it's wonderful. You haven't aged at all.
Aged? What do you mean?
Oh, it's been years since I saw you. I thought it would show. See my gray hair?
Oh, Nicholas. It's been exactly 4 days.
You sure you don't mean years?
Come on in, Nicholas. Days or years. It's chilly out here in the hall. Peter left his chair, Nick. He won't be back this evening anyway. He went down to his house.
Oh? Sorry I missed him.
He said to tell you hello. And so did Aunt Mary and Mandy when they left for the movie.
Oh, and we're all alone. Good. Mm-hmm. Oh, not that they aren't lovely people, every one, but... Well, my little Daphne, what's been happening to you?
Why do you call me Daphne?
Well, I don't know. It sort of fits you. Daphne was a nymph, quite a shy little nymph. When Apollo pursued her, she ran away and turned herself into a tree.
Well, nothing much has happened, Nicholas. That is, I shouldn't say nothing exactly. I saw Jane Plummer one afternoon. We had a nice talk, and Randy's been teaching me how to tie knots the way sailors do.
You never can tell when something like that will come in handy.
Well, it might. Aunt Mary's making a new dress, and I've been reading an awfully interesting book about the South.
Yes, go on.
Well, I guess that's about all.
Okay. Now, tell me what's been happening to you. I didn't ask what you've been doing.
I don't know what you mean, Nicholas. What's the difference between what I've been doing and what's been happening?
That's what I'd like you to tell me. Peggy, it's no use, my darling. You might as well come out with it. We've got to get this over with.
But...
Come on, out with it. Tell me about last night.
Last night? Well, you know, Bill came out.
Yeah? And?
We had an awfully nice dinner.
I'm sure you did, but let's skip the menu, shall we?
Well, Lefty was awfully funny. Aunt Mary must have given him a talking to, I guess. Anyway, he was so polite to Bill, it was painful. I'm sure Bill must have thought he was out of his mind. He kept passing him things, jumping up to get ice trays, offering him cigars.
Let's skip the social angle, too.
Well, my goodness, you said you wanted to know about last night.
I do. You know very well what I mean, little one. You're stalling and you know it. I want to know, Peggy, what you and Bill decided. You can't turn yourself into a tree, darling. You're a mortal woman with a mortal woman's problems. At present, the problem of telling one man you love another. You do? Do you?
Well, it isn't as simple as that, Nick.
Why not? It should be. Either you love Bill Meade or you don't.
When you put it like that, I don't know what to say.
Well, let's see if I can help you. Now, you just answer yes or no. Now, which is it?
It's yes. I mean, no. Oh, Nick, I don't know.
To think when I was in absolute torture last night, I kept telling myself that tonight I'd know where I stood.
Oh, I'm sorry, Nick. Did you have a dreadful evening?
Yeah, it's either grim in an interesting way or interesting in a grim way. I can't decide which.
What did you do?
Ran into an old acquaintance. The ex-Mrs. Meade, now known as Kitt Calvert.
Kitt?
She was in the circus room having a highball when I happened in. I had some vague idea about drowning my sorrows, but I left after one drink with a very bitter taste in my mouth. Oh, that woman. However, we won't have the misery of her company much longer, I gathered.
Why not?
So she's clearing out, going on to greener pastures. Well, you know, Wichtsfield doesn't offer many opportunities for her sort of expression.
No, I guess it doesn't. Did she really say she intends to leave?
As soon as possible.
Oh.
She'll probably do very well for herself, too. She's careful to go someplace where your status depends on how much dough you have and how you wear your clothes rather than what you are inside. Of course, the baby may do something of it, Henry.
She's taking the baby. Are you sure?
That's what you say. It's quite a point of it, too. Seems her father wants her to leave the child with him.
Yes, of course. Then Calvert's always wanted a grandson.
From your standpoint, though, I think it'd be a good thing if she does take the baby with her.
I don't know what you mean, Nick.
Yes, you do, darling. I mean this, if the baby goes with Kitt, it would solve your dilemma with Bill, wouldn't it?
No, it wouldn't.
Why not?
Because, Nick, Bill still intends to get possession of that child, if he can.
And he did decide to. That does make a difference.
Yes, it does. Not that I don't agree with him. He should want his own child. It's only natural. But you can't. Well, I'm almost sure I couldn't. That's why.
Of course. I mean, you can't see yourself making a loving stepmother for Kitt Calvert's son.
No. I'm afraid I can't, Nick. Oh, maybe it's wrong of me, but I'm so afraid I couldn't be fair to the child. My feelings about Kitt might come through somehow.
Very likely they would. You can't be blamed for that. Pretty tough on you, darling.
Oh, I'm not complaining about anything, Nick. Only it's been so long. Well, I've just begun to get used to not having Bill in my life. I can't go back into all that again. I don't want to. And I told him so last night.
Well, that does it. Peggy, darling, I've done my best to be on the level all through this Bill Meade thing. I didn't want to make a big pitch for myself while he was still tangled up with Kitt. I've tried not to take advantage either of the fact that you were miserable and confused.
Oh, I know it, Nick. I've appreciated it. You've been wonderful.
There's a limit to how much a man can take. How long he can go on worrying about the other fella. Darling, I purposely waited for Bill to have his say, to talk to you as a free person. But now... Darling, I just can't be noble any longer. Peggy, I love you. I love you like fire and stars and mountains. It's a big love. It has even me scared. I know you don't feel the same way about me. You probably never would. Darling, I'm in no position to bargain. I've reached the end of my endurance. Peggy, I feel very humble. If you'll marry me, no matter what happens, I'll accept you on your own terms. I won't burden you with my emotions. And I'll be willing to accept whatever crumbs happen my way, with no complaints and no questions asked. What do you think, darling? Are you willing to give it a try? You can have all the good things we used to talk about, darling. The companionship and the laughter. It can be so peaceful, too.
Yes, I think we could.
Once, some time ago, you were willing to go ahead to get married right away. Peggy, I'm going to take you up on that now. Will you marry me, darling?
Yes, Nicholas. Yes, I will.
Nicholas Dorn took Peggy in his arms, then kissed her mouth tenderly, ardently. And yet, as she stood within his embrace, cool and somehow detached, Peggy's thoughts went back again to the memory of when Bill had first kissed her. And for a moment, the world had blotted out. Now for our story. It was almost midnight of the same evening after Nicholas Dorn had come to see Peggy, and Aunt Mary Lane's farmhouse on Willow Road was very quiet. Now, Peggy's bedroom door opens quietly, and the young girl appears wearing a flannel robe over her pajamas. She tiptoes silently down the hall, taps gently at Aunt Mary's door, which shows a slender thread of light shining beneath it.
Aunt Mary? May I come in?
Yes, dear.
I was afraid you'd be asleep already, but I saw your light was still on.
I'm glad you came in, Peggy. Not a bit sleepy yet. Oh, it'd be nice to have a little chat. Did you have a pleasant evening with Nicholas?
Mm-hmm. How was the picture, Aunt Mary?
Oh, it was quite interesting. Randy enjoyed it. That's the main reason I went, for his sake.
I know.
My goodness, we've all been so busy lately. You and I haven't had a little visit like this, and, well, I don't know when.
That's so.
I don't believe we've really talked for several days. Before Well, before Bill came out to dinner.
No.
Well, dear, suppose you bring me up to date first, and then I'll tell you about me. So to tell you the truth, I haven't a great deal to report about my doings. At least nothing that would interest you particularly. Did you have a nice time the night Bill came out?
A nice time, Aunt Mary? I wouldn't say that exactly. But I'm awfully glad we did talk things over. You see, it was pretty important.
Yes, I realize that.
It was the first time since ages ago when we had the misunderstanding before Kitt went to California.
I know.
So naturally there was quite a lot to say. Bill told me that he asked me.
I think I know what Bill told you, my dear. That he loved you.
Yes, he did.
And he wanted to know whether you love him, too. Whether you'll marry him.
Yes.
Did you give him an answer?
I did, Aunt Mary. The answer was no.
I see.
I had to, Aunt Mary. I had to say no. You see, Bill told me he intends to get custody of his baby, if he can. Well, you understand, don't you? It's so big a chance. I don't think I could. To live with, to bring up Kitt's child.
Well, dear, that's something you have to decide within yourself. I'm afraid no one else can help you face that problem.
No, I suppose they can't.
And I'm sure you've thought it through very carefully.
I have. And I know what I'm going to do.
What's that, dear?
I'm going to marry Nicholas, as I intended. I told him so tonight.
Oh, Peggy.
I want to marry Nicholas, Aunt Mary. I'm terribly fond of him, and I think we can be happy.
Terribly fond. You honestly believe being terribly fond of him is enough basis for a marriage, Peggy? For building a life together?
Yes, I do. We have lots of things in common. We enjoy the same things. He loves me a lot.
I know that. But a marriage can't be lopsided and succeed, Peggy. It needed to have two people who feel the same way.
But it would be different if we hadn't talked it over. Nicholas knows just exactly how I feel, and he's willing to accept it. Besides, I think gradually I'd forget all about Bill. Maybe I'd begin to feel toward Nicholas the way he does toward me.
It's possible. But it seems to me it's taking a terrific risk to bank on something like that.
Whatever I did would be a risk, Aunt Mary, the way it looks to me. But at least if I marry Nicholas, I don't have to fight against the past. We have a foundation of our own to build on. Oh, I did so hope you'd agree with me that it's the best thing to do.
I'm sorry, my dear. I can't tell you I do if I don't.
I see. Well, Aunt Mary, I hate to go against what you believe. You've been right about so many problems I've had while I was growing up. But this time I feel certain I have to do things my own way. I told Nicholas I'd marry him, and I intend to. Just as soon as we can make the arrangements. Peggy, I know you don't agree with me, but
Peggy, dear, have I ever, since you were a little girl, come right out and oppose something you wanted very much to do?
no. You help me to see my mistakes sometimes. Help me look at things differently, but you've never forbidden me to do something.
No, dear, because I don't believe people learn by being forbidden. I believe they learn better by examining things with their own minds and hearts. Then when they reach a decision, they can carry through without doubt or without misgivings.
And I haven't any misgivings this time, Aunt Mary. Honestly and truly, I haven't.
Are you quite sure about that, Peggy? Now, Cynthia, can you tell me truthfully that you didn't have a moment's doubt when you told Nicholas Dorn you'd marry him tonight? Haven't had since?
Well, Aunt Mary, I'll admit I had one, but it's not an important one. It's just a question of emotions, not of what I think.
Emotions? But when you talk of marriage, dear, that's very important, isn't it? How you feel.
Perhaps it is with an ordinary marriage, but Nicholas understands.
Well, understanding might not be much protection to Nicholas. If you were married to each other and there happened to be something missing, something lacking in your feeling toward him, you might be hurt very deeply in that case. You wouldn't want that to happen, would you, my dear?
No, of course I wouldn't. But it won't. This doubt I had, Aunt Mary, really has nothing to do with that. Nicholas and me, our basis for being together.
Are you sure? If you are, would you mind telling me what it was?
Well, it's sort of hard to talk about, but I'll try. It was just that, well, last night, when Bill was here, I remembered when he'd first kissed me. It all came back to me as we stood there talking. It was before he told me about the baby, what he planned to do. Bill's kiss was, well, it seemed so right, so natural for Bill to kiss me.
Yes,
And then, tonight when I told Nicholas I'd marry him, he kissed me. It was terribly different. Not that it was unpleasant. It just didn't mean the same.
I see.
But Aunt Mary, that's something I've always known, that it wouldn't be the same. It has nothing to do with Nicholas and me, our marriage.
Peggy, I've never done this before, but I'm going to now. I'm going to ask you to wait. Not to go through with your marriage to Nicholas. At least, not for the present.
But why? There's no reason to wait, Aunt Mary. Nothing's going to change. Bill won't. And Nicholas and I won't either. I don't see what to be gained by waiting. Really, I don't.
I can't tell you why, Peggy. All I can do is ask you to trust me.
If only you'd listened to your aunt's advice, Peggy. For though you don't know it now, there is a reason for waiting. The fact that the child which is an obstacle between you and the man you really love is not his child after all. And there is a possibility this will be discovered. But what good will that do you, Peggy, if by that time you have already married Nicholas Dorn?